Hi, my name is Helene Dudley. I'm from the Rotary Club of Coconut Grove, Florida, and I'd like to share with you information about a program that I helped start about 22 years ago. Myself and some other former Peace Corps volunteers got together to start the Columbia Project at a time when there were like 25,000 families a year being displaced by the violence in Colombia. So as former Peace Corps volunteers who still love that country, we got together and decided that we would provide resources to help people who had been displaced so that they could rebuild their lives on the in their new communities. Hi, my name is Helene Dudley, and I'm Helene Dudley from the Rotary Club of Coconut Grove, and I'd like to tell you about a program that I helped start about 22 years ago. Joining with other returned Peace Corps volunteers who had served in Colombia, we got together to start the Columbia Project as a way of raising funds to give to people who had been displaced by the violence in Colombia so that they could reestablish financial independence. So we tested that model for 15 years in Colombia, and then in 2015, we evolved as TCP Global, and we are now in 14 countries around the world. Last year, we supported $1 million in microloans to 6,000 borrowers, all with no overhead because our whole program is run by volunteers. So during COVID, I watched The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. It's about a child who lived in a village where his parents couldn't pay. Hi, my name is Helene Dudley, and I'm from the Rotary Club of Coconut Grove. I'd like to tell you about a program that I helped start about 22 years ago. A group of Peace Corps volunteers who had served in Colombia got together to start the Columbia Project as a way of providing funds to people who had been displaced by the violence in Colombia, to give them money so that they could reestablish their financial independence. So fast forward 22 years, we evolved as TCP Global in 2015, and we are now serving in 14 countries. Last year, we supported over $1 million in microloans, all with zero overhead because we are all volunteers. So during COVID, I watched a documentary called The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. His parents could not afford to pay school fees due to crop failures caused by a drought, so he broke into the school library at night and he researched how to build a windmill. He succeeded in bringing water up from the ground and saved his family and saved his village. My takeaway from that is that we should eliminate financial obstacles and empower problem solvers like this boy to use their gifts to benefit society. And it doesn't take much. We surveyed women in Uganda and Zambia to learn what they did with increased earnings after improving their businesses with loans as small as $100 to $200. So 95% said they paid school fees, which had been difficult for many to pay in the past. So another thing they told us was that with the increased earnings, now they can not only have more inventory so that they have more income, but they have also moved up, many of them, from selling on the mat in the street in the hot sun to selling in the relative comfort of the covered marketplace or even in their own kiosks. The woman on the left is a relatively new borrower, and she's from a savings group. They call them Village Savings and Loan Associations. She's from a VSLA group that particularly helps handicapped people. This particular woman has only one leg. So expanding the inventory in their businesses means more earnings, which means they can keep their kids in school. It also means that nobody goes to bed hungry in their family anymore. And surprisingly, we learned that it also means the virtual end to domestic violence, at least in Yumbe. What they told us was that now that the women don't have to constantly bug their husbands for money for school fees and for food, that they get along much better with their husbands, and they said that that domestic violence has virtually disappeared. So Western countries send aid for money for education, environment, nutrition, and health programs, But unless families have the resources to implement what those programs advocate, very minimal progress is made. Now, we need to discard the notion that poverty is caused by laziness, ignorance, or lack of talent. It's primarily caused by lack of opportunity. So the TCP Global philosophy is to give the entrepreneurial poor the same financial services we use to make our way in the world and empower them to achieve their potential and contribute to solving problems facing our planet. They all have dreams, but they just need some resources to help implement those dreams. So I'd like for you to hear this message from the leader of the Amangabo Savings Group in northern Uganda. The name of their group means "we have awoken," and this very awoken woman is one of 22 savings group leaders supported by TCP Global Funds who have joined together to form the Rotary Club of Yumbe. I believe you will be touched by what she has to say about Rotary.
There's also another club called the Rotary. Then I said, as a chairperson, I also need to go for that Rotary. Now, when I came for Rotary, I came and got that. Rotary was also matching with my activities, professional background. Then I said, this is what I want. Then when I went back, I said, you people members, sit down. Now we have two things, saving and Rotary. We all have to work together on this. What do we do? Rotary needs A, B, C, D. Then I sat them down. We also started doing charity work at home. We could go and clean the borehole. We started encouraging breastfeeding mothers. We talked to them. We started health educating pregnant mothers. We started also moving to health centers, giving health education and doing charity work at the health center, doing some cleanness. There's also another club.
Well, at first glance, the Yumbe Rotarians have no resemblance to the founding fathers in Chicago. They are definitely movers and shakers in their poor community, and they embody the Rotary spirit of service above self. We need all hands on deck to address the problems facing our planet. So TCP Global's dual mission helps in two ways: empowering individuals like Christina you just heard from with microloans to implement their dreams, and also strengthening effective grassroots organizations by providing them a steady revenue stream that they can use for their community projects. Anything they think will really help to make life in their community better. So what Agrovida in Trujillo, Peru did was they put in about 6 or 7 of these reservoirs up in the hills. So in the past, they've been plagued by mudslides and floods that flooded Trujillo. So by putting in these reservoirs, they help to prevent those kinds of actions. But the other thing that these reservoirs do is they provide irrigation so that in the dry seasons, the subsistence farmers can grow crops. So these people that you see in the lower left-hand part are subsistence farmers way up in the mountains. And they had been considering maybe moving to the city as a way of, because there wasn't enough work. They couldn't support their families up in the mountains with only one crop a year. But now that they have irrigation, they have several growing seasons. So instead of being part of the chain migration problem in society, they're part of the solution to the food insecurity problems in society. And then in Yumbe, this is the 22 women who are leaders of village savings and loan associations who got together to form a Rotary Club. And as soon as they became Rotarians, they said, well, we're Rotarians, so we have to do a service project. So they advertised on the radio to see who would like a project and one that would maybe fit their talents. So the village of Achiba needed to have water and sanitation. There were no latrines in the village, so everybody did their business out in the bushes, and you can imagine how unpleasant that was. And they didn't have any hand wash stations, so of course there was a lot of disease, a lot of illness in the community. So the Rotary Club joined with Chris Rosell, who is our director for Africa programs, and he also has his own NGO called People to People, which provides low-tech sustainable water and sanitation solutions. So with Chris's funding and Chris's know-how and backup, but they're on the grounds, on site or administration, these women constructed 43 latrines and 43 hand wash stations using all local materials. But they didn't stop there. On February 20th, they went back in and they did a community cleanup with the people in the community. And Christina, who you heard from earlier, she also took the occasion to teach them the importance of getting rid of standing water and the importance of hygiene. And they've really taken on this village of Achiba and are trying to raise the standard of living there. So a key difference between TCP Global and other organizations is that we empower individuals and our partners to implement their own dreams. We don't come in with a checklist of things we want to do. We find people who are already doing good work in their community and say, oh, we'll give you the funds so that you can do even more good work in your community. And then the organization that manages the microloan program for us doesn't get any money up front for good intentions, but they do have the opportunity of earning revenue from good results. And then they can use their earnings as they see fit without asking our permission. There's an unexpected side effect of that too, because when you're spending your own money, you spend it very wisely. If somebody says, oh, we've got some free money for you out here, people tend to pad their budget and then they spend more than they really need to spend. And that leads to really unsustainable, very costly behavior. So this is what the women in Yumbe have used for their interest earnings. So SEDUC, the organization that oversees the whole program, they get a portion of the earnings, but the women's groups get all of their interest earnings on the loans that they manage. So I always thought it was really idyllic to be sitting under a mango tree and doing business and barefoot on a mat. It just seemed so peaceful and serene. But as soon as they got money, the women decided that they were going to buy chairs to sit on. So that's what they did with their earnings, in addition to helping with the hand wash stations, etc. So now I would like Michelle to tell you about the microloan program in Nepal. TCP Global has some very basic criteria that the organization that we partner with has to already be working effectively and willing to go the extra mile to serve their community. And then they give out loans that have interest that doesn't exceed what the banks charge for similar loans, must be for some kind of revenue producing project. But within those criteria, they can run their program however they choose. And we have very different models. You'll see that the Yumbe model is very, very different from the one in Nepal.